We interrupt our program to bring you a special broadcast.
Boom! Headshot!
Hey, it's Clay. Welcome to another League of Legends commentary. This time I want to talk about why buy Ashe. Ashe, the Frost Archer, the Frayed Lord Queen. She is something else, and she's probably one of the most iconic and, basic champions. I would say that she's probably one that we all picked up during the tutorial at least once. I know she was the first champion that I played, first champion that I bought, first champion that I tried. Got me started into the role of AD carry, so I have some fond memories of Ashe. Like I said, she's a ranged AD carry. She's one of the most basic and straightforward of them, but I would say she's a champion that is really interesting, and she is easy to learn but hard to master, I think is a good way of thinking about Ashe. I actually saw her in a recent European LCS game, which actually kind of piqued my interest in her again. I've been trying a lot of the other AD carries out just to kind of get a feel for them, and I think that Ashe is definitely one that deserves to be in conversation when we're talking about good AD carries. I think she definitely is very viable. And I think it's interesting because you see Ashe from a lot of really new players, but I also think you see Ashe from some really experienced players. I know like Chaos is a really big fan of Ashe. Used to be TSM's AD carry. And I know that some others can be really high on her as well, and she has some really unique and interesting mechanics to her gameplay that really give her team a tremendous amount of utility. I would say that's probably one of the things I'm going to say over and over in this commentary is just how much tremendous utility Ashe brings to her team. As Graves quick drawing in, good stun by Tarek, probably saved my life. But let's go ahead and talk about her abilities. Her passive is Focus. This gives you a it's a charged up crit chance. Basically, every time that you're spending just passive and not attacking, it will actually charge this up. You can see right here it's at 19, 20, 21. There I expended it there. Basically, it gives you, as we going into on Leona, she's getting so low. Every time you're out of combat, it will charge up, and you'll get an almost guaranteed crit. And this is pretty unique in AD carries. As we're going in on Graves, going to slow in with my volley and an auto attack. Boom, there's first blood. Going to flash in, thinking maybe I could get another kill on Leona, but it wasn't meant to be. Happy to kill one, although I did end up burning my flash, which is kind of stinky. But again, her passive. This is really interesting because not a lot of AD carries are capable of critting before they really start to get items. You get that Infinity Edge, Phantom Dancer combo, and then you're critting all over the place. But with Ashe, you almost have the ability to crit right from level 1, right from the very beginning, because you do start with 100% stacks, I believe. At least by the time you run into lane, you will have 100. So this is a good thing to keep an eye on. Just keep an eye on that little timer down in your status bar, and it will. You can use it if you're going to plant some harass. It's good to kind of sit back, let it charge up, and then initiate with it in lane. It can be really nice, give you that little bit of extra boosted damage. Overall, it's a solid passive, and it's a nice way to have a guaranteed crit. Now moving on to Frost Shot. And sorry guys, I'm assuming that you know what crit is. Critical strike basically doubles your damage. So if you land a crit, you will have double damage. So right now, if I'm doing 85 damage, if I land a crit, it will actually do 170. I believe that math is correct. Now it's 89, so that would be 178. So let's go to her Q, Frost Shot. This is a toggled ability that applies to auto attacks. Basically, it will apply a percentage slow. The more levels you put into it, the slow will move up from 15% all the way up to 35% at max rank. So this is one of her strongest abilities. It basically gives you the ability to permanently slow your opponent. Because it applies to auto attacks, it's extremely useful. It's kind of like having a built-in, getting the passive from like what is that item? The Frozen Mallet. So overall, very strong. I would say this. And the percentage of the slow also applies to her W, which also applies a slow, and it will be the percentage from the Q. And so overall, this is definitely a strong ability. It's one of the things that makes Ashe really, I would say, good in certain situations because she has this tremendous slow. As you see, I'm getting caught out here, and I'm probably going to go down. My flash is down because I burned it earlier, and there's no hope for me because I have no escape. And we'll get back to that later. It's one of Ashe's weaknesses is definitely her lack of mobility. But the Q is really nice. You need to be careful about this. You don't want to spam it onto minions ever because it will drain your mana very quickly. So you want to keep an eye on whether or not it's on or off. Again, in your little taskbar next to your crit chance, you can see whether or not... next to your focus, you can actually see whether or not it's toggled on or off. You also, if anytime you hit the target, it will actually put little icicles underneath their feet. So that's another way that you can tell whether it's on or off. You definitely do not want to be wasting mana with this against minions. But pretty much anytime you're contacting an enemy champion, you want to put this on with your auto attacks, and you want to kite them too. So you're going to be auto attacking, moving, auto attacking, moving. You always want to be taking advantage of that slow, because it can really secure you a kill in an instance where they would otherwise get away. And it also makes her really, really good against melee champions. I would say that Ashe is a hard counter to a melee champions that do not have a gap closer. Thinking about champions like Darius or maybe Garen, they don't really have the ability to get in close to you, so you can keep them at arm's length with this Q. It's also really nice too because Ashe has rather long auto attack range of 600, which is it's quite long. I believe it's you know, maybe like third, I want to say, of 80 carries without. I know that Trist, well, range gets a little bit confusing because like Kog'Maw and Twitch can increase their range with their abilities, but in Trist, her passive increases her range. But I know Caitlyn is 650. And then Ashe is 600, so this is very, very long range on this ability, so very nice overall. Now moving on to her W, Volley. This is the ability you're probably going to want to max first and use the most. Basically, it's extremely long range, it's a cone effect, so it does AoE damage, and it also applies the slow percentage from your Q. So right there I just used it. This ability is really nice. It's the core of Ashe's damage. It fires 7 arrows in a cone, and the arrows will only damage an enemy or a melee, or a minion once. It's not like Graves' Q where it will pass through them, so it can be blocked. But overall, it's very strong. It has tremendous range at 1200. That's really, really huge range. So it really makes Ashe effective in a poke team composition. It really, really can. Right there, I used it again to get that poke. You can use it in team fights to slow the enemy team instantly. You can use it to poke down a target who's escaping, get you in position to land your Qs. It's a very strong ability overall, and I would say you want to put all your levels into it just to give you that extra damage. Also, when you level it up, the cooldown goes from 16 down to 4 seconds, so you can almost spam it at max rank, which is probably the main reason why you want to put levels into it. A little bit of a skirmish going on in our jungle here, but we'll see if anything comes of it. Now let's move on to her E. This is Hawkshot. This is passive active ability. The passive ability grants you extra gold whenever you kill it works on minions too, I believe. So overall, this is a pretty strong ability. Sometimes I like to put, if I'm just going for like a hyper farm lane, I will put points in this right away, and then you know, it gives you up to 5 gold per last hit, which is really, really nice. And then the active ability grants you vision. So now right here, this is a great time to talk about my ultimate, because boom, there goes the ultimate arrow onto Graves, which is going to lock him down. So much CC and stuns, and he is going to die. That was a great example there. As we all are running away, Leona's going to have to flash out. I'm going to get drug under tower, but it's really not a big deal because there's no damage. But that was a really great example of my ultimate, which is the Enchanted Crystal Arrow. This is Ashe's probably most signature ability, and it's what really makes her viable. Basically, it is a global stun. It also will do AoE magic damage, but it scales off ability power, so it's not really known for its damage. It's more really all about the stun. The stun length, or the time of the stun, will actually increase based on the travel distance of the arrow, which is very interesting. So landing long-range arrows will give you a longer stun, which is a very interesting mechanic. So yeah, basically it gives Ashe global presence. It also makes Ashe a fantastic initiator. I would say this is right up there with like the Amumu, bandage toss into his ult, or like a Malphite. His ultimate is crazy good for initiation. It was actually, looks like Graves actually shows up right at the wrong time, and then I am lagging out. I remember this quite vividly. I'm just spamming right click on my keyboard to run away, and Ashe is just stood there and taken these buckshots to the face as I end up dying. But back to her ultimate. The ultimate is really cool, and it's one of the things that makes Ashe so valuable on your team. I would say that Ashe fits extremely well into team compositions that need initiation, or team compositions that need CC. You know, it can really, it's a fantastic for starting a team fight. So check this out right here. I see land an arrow there onto Master Yi. He's going to try to heal through it, but he's going to end up getting a kill. I mean, that really turned it around right there. That fight was not looking good. I land the stun, and all of a sudden, we just instantly killed Master Yi. So basically, anytime that your arrow is off cooldown, you're going to want to use it to try to pick up a kill and be aggressive. I mean, it is such a valuable ability. Landing a good arrow is really what it's all about, and especially as we move into the late part of the game. it's all about landing arrows. This is really what Ashe brings to the team first and foremost. It's her ability to lock down a target. As we move into the late game, you basically want to keep an eye out for any time the AD or AP carry gets out of position and you can land an arrow on them and your team is close by to follow up. You want to land that arrow because it will secure a kill. Having a Kali on my team is great synergy with the arrow because, if you think about someone like a Kali or Zed, they don't really have that good initiation on their own. But because, I can land this Ashe arrow and lock down a squishy target, I mean, that's almost a secured kill for an assassin. So if you think about a team composition that has good damage on its own, because I would say that this ultimate doesn't really provide you with the best damage, but it's more just about the utility that it provides. So you can really, supplement your team in that regard. If your team has a lot of damage, but they need some crowd control, they need some initiation, I would say Ashe is a fantastic choice. And really I would say that AD carries in general, you're going to want, a lot of the really popular ones right now have tremendous, damage supplements. Think about like Tristana with her Q, gives her that 90% attack speed, or Draven with his Q, gives you that bonus damage. They have these ways to supplement their damage. Ashe does not have that, but what she does have is the slows, the stuns, the AoE. I mean, she has more utility, I would say, than any other AD carry in the game, which really makes her unique and makes her viable in her own way. So those are Ashe's abilities. Let's talk a little bit more about her gameplay. I would say that Ashe requires a little bit more of a defensive style. She's got good poke, but she has very low burst. You can see we pick up a nice kill there onto Leona, and then I also fall. I believe I lagged there as well. It's a really good burst by Graves. But Ashe has low burst. She has low mobility. Those are probably her biggest weaknesses. I mean, she really doesn't have any burst, whatever it is. I mean, probably her best burst combo would be to land an arrow into an auto attack, into a W, into an auto attack. That's probably her only basic burst combo. But she doesn't have burst. She doesn't have escape, but she does have tremendous utility. She has tremendous range. And she can offer some things that a lot of other AD carries cannot, that only are focused on damage. So you can see just trying to escape here, using my W to kite Leona there, feeling like I can almost kite anybody at this point, getting 2 points into my Q. And so at this point in the game, I'm farming up, and I pretty much am only looking to try to land an arrow. It's off cooldown, and so I want to see if Graves will get out of position, if there's maybe a chance that we can lock him down and get that kill. That's pretty much all that mid-late game Ashe is about, is landing arrows. In terms of items, I would say you just want to follow a very traditional standard AD carry build. Items like Infinity Edge, Phantom Dancer, Bloodthirster, Last Whisper, Blade of the Rune King. Those are all, Guardian Angel for defense, Berserker's Greaves for boots. Those are your standard AD carry items. Very, very traditional. There's actually the active for my Hawkshot right there, just to give me vision of that brush. But in this game, I believe I start off with a Vamp Scepter just to give me a little bit of extra lifesteal and sustain in lane, and then I rush Infinity Edge, then I go for Phantom Dancer, and then from there it gets a little bit situational. Probably a Last Whisper if they're stacking armor, probably a Blade of the Rune King if they're stacking health, maybe a Guardian Angel if I'm getting focused a lot. It's a lot of situational stuff there. So this is another situation. I see a Kali coming in, and we see Hecarim going over the top. So this right here, I'm thinking arrow. I'm thinking I want to land an arrow onto Graves. So let's just watch him and watch me. I see a Kali going. Boom. There's the arrow to lock him down, and he is dead as a doornail. Hecarim's going to finish him off. Right there, and I end up getting the kill on the Leona. So right there, it was that pretty much. I'm just going to say that the arrow was the primary reason why Akali was able to land that kill or get as much burst damage off onto Graves as she was. It was because that arrow locked him down, and the arrow is, like I said before, so useful and synergizes so well with someone like Akali, who needs a little bit of help locking down her targets. She's not usually able to just totally insta-gib her targets. So to give her that little couple extra seconds of free damage where they're just standing in place, getting absolutely face melted by her, is so valuable for someone like Akali. So another really good initiation there, just using that Ashe arrow again to secure a kill. Now we're kind of moving out of the laning phase, roaming to the mid lane because we've already got our turret down. Gonna try to get this turret down. Got 124 CS, 4, 3, and 2. My 3 deaths, one of them was lag, and I believe I want to say the other 2 were just because of Ashe's. I don't know, maybe 2 of them were lag, but her lack of mobility, I would say, is her greatest weakness. Ashe does not really have the best mobility. She doesn't have an escape. She has low base movement speed. She really has no way to get out of a sticky situation. So with Ashe, positioning is even ever more important, you know, as it is with all AD carries. It's even more important with someone like Ashe. You know, and because, you know, she's capable of such high utility, you want to be in position to offer that utility, you know, because otherwise you're really not going to be that useful. Yeah, moving into more of this mid-late game part of the game, you want to stay with your team. You want to make sure that you are never alone. You know, right now I've been alone, but this is risky. I want to be with my teammates, so I'm going to seek out a Kali. I'm going to stay with her. You know, staying with your support. My support this game is Tarek. I want to stay with him. You know, I can see got 3 enemies. This is a bad position for me to be in. And Master Yi gets to chunk me down with his Alpha Strike. Yeah, that's bad news. I want to make sure that I am, you know, staying in a good position, playing defensively. I would say that Ashe requires a defensive playstyle. You know, she's not really able to really go ham mode aggressive. You want to be a little bit more passive, I would say, with Ashe. As you can see that Akali's going in here on Master Yi, but he's going to heal right through it. Not much we can do. I maybe could have launched an arrow into there. It was on cooldown, but I decided against it. You know, we actually don't have Renekton with us, so it would have been a 5v4. I just didn't think it was a good time to initiate. And that's one of the real benefits of Ashe, is that you can, you know, you can choose your initiation in ways that not a lot of other AD carries can't. You know, think about someone like, ooh, we're getting a nice jump there onto Leona. Boom, there she goes down. Good job by Doggerson to pick up that kill. AD carry Tarek, no big deal. You know, with Ashe, you really have the ability to initiate in ways that you just can't with other AD carries, which is really interesting. It's really unique, and it really, I think, allows you to, it makes her really valuable, I would say, in the solo queue game, because, you know, in solo queue, things can be a little bit random and disjointed, and teams don't really know when to go in together because they're not communicating. So having that arrow, it's like a giant, you know, warning sign saying, "Hey team, initiate now." Like that's basically what it is. It just gives you this huge warning sign right here. Boom! There's a really nice arrow onto Master Yi, and there we get the kill on him. I mean, that's pretty much secured a kill there in an interesting situation for our team. Almost getting the kill on his Garner. He's so low. I'm getting low, so I'm just going to run away, but Graves is, Akali's going to go down, Graves is going to go down, Leona's in a bad position. Good job by Renekton to finish that kill. So we end up going 4 for 1 there, and Skarner even just got away with an inch of his life. And overall, let's just go ahead and watch that one more time, because the arrow is really what started this out. If you watch, I'm waiting for Master Yi, boom, there's the arrow, and we're going to catch him out, going to allow Hecarim and Renekton to get in there and do their damage. So overall, I think we were in a really good position to initiate that team fight, and it ends up going really well for us, even though it was mostly done under a turret. Akali sacrificing her life there for the good of the cause. So yeah, just another instance of initiation with Ashe is huge, and it's one of the biggest things that you can offer to your team. Looks like the turret takes out Tarek there. That was kind of a derp. But yeah, overall, in a good position. Things are really looking pretty good for our team. And again, at this point in the game, my arrow is up. All I'm looking to do is to land arrows. And actually, I see that this team fight is going on over here. So, again, this is primo time for me to throw in an arrow and introduce my global presence. There's the arrow onto Skarner. Gonna lock him down. Try to help Renekton get away, but he actually dashed the wrong way. See ya, Renekton. But I did pick up the kill onto Leona there, because she was kind of in no man's land. Not really sure exactly what she was doing. Gonna go back and buy. End up finishing my Phantom Dancer. And, ooh, that's my alarm. I'll be right back. Sorry about that. Cooking a pizza and got that alarm going off. But, yeah, so Ashe. Basically, at this point, you can see my arrow is almost on cooldown. 3 seconds, 2 seconds, 1 second. Like I said before, it's all about the arrow. It's all about the utility that you offer to your team. Because you're not going to be the greatest damage threat. You're looking at my build. I'm doing... Okay, right here. This is a good example. Let's go ahead and back this up. Now, let's just pause and take stock of what I see. My camera was right here. I'm seeing my team. We have vision of all 5 members of their enemy team. Some fantastic warding done by Tarek right there. We all saw them travel through here. So my eye is on Graves and on Master Yi, because those are the carries, and I want to really make sure that I land an arrow on one of them in this team fight. And you can see right here, there I can see Graves getting caught out. Boom, there's the arrow onto Graves, and he gets killed almost instantly, and that is pretty much going to mop things up. I'm going to get a kill onto Master Yi. Leona goes down. Tryndamere goes down, and that team fight goes really well for us. Just, again, using my arrow to secure a kill. Every time the arrow comes off cooldown, you want to be securing a kill. That's pretty much the moral of the game, the name of the game, the moral of the story, and it leads to a nice GG there from the enemy team saying, we want no more of your arrows, Ashe, that is enough. But overall, pretty solid game, 191 CS, 6-3 and 8. I would say that with Ashe, you're probably going to get a number of assists just because of her ability to slow and to her ultimate. But overall, a really fun game. I think Ashe can be really viable, personally. Especially with team comps that have a lot of damage but don't have a lot of utility or initiation. I would think that Ashe can fit in really, really well in some of those team comps. So keep that in mind when you're picking your AD carry. Don't forget about Ashe. I know that she's one of the champions that everyone plays starting off, but that does not mean that she's not one that we can continue to play as we get better. So I hope you enjoyed this. Let me know your thoughts on Ashe down below, and I'll see you guys again soon.